9 things you do have control over that will make your life better. This is, I think, one of the most important conversations to have, simply because so much energy is placed on stuff that's beyond us, right? That we have no control over, yet we ignore the strength within us, the things that will actually transform our lives and push us forward. Stoicism obviously places a lot of emphasis on differentiating between these two things, like letting go of what's not ours and, really cultivating and strengthening what is. And there's plenty of iterations. One of my favorites and one of the most common, most well-known is the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's that idea that you have within you a superpower, but you have to stop looking outside, right, and pointing at the sky for stuff that's just not yours, right? So let's dive right into it. That's where the power is. 9 things you can control that will change your life. The first, and this is not going to be a surprise, mindset. Why? Because it doesn't matter if the sky's falling or the walls are crashing down. How you think is yours. It's your strength. And no one said it better in my mind than Viktor Frankl, where he says, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And when you understand the context, and this is a man who went through one of the grossest atrocities in human history, the concentration camps during World War II, and clung on to hope, right? Left that situation saying, hey, no one can take your outlook from you. It doesn't matter how bad the world seems. That is one of the most empowering things I've ever heard. And when I look back at my life, and I'm sure a lot of you watching can relate, some of the darkest times ended up bringing me to the most beautiful places. And going through them in those moments, the ability to pause and just say, hey, I know this sucks. I know it doesn't feel good, but there's value here, right? Not intuitive. It's not an intuitive thing to do, which is why I think it's more important. No matter what you're going through, there's something there that's meaningful and even beautiful that will ultimately be transformative. Your attitude is yours. Nothing can take that away. Number 2, you always have control over how you allocate your time. There's an idea that what you water grows, which presents a simple formula. Understanding what's important in your life and asking yourself, are you giving that the sufficient attention it deserves? I think an easy example that we all relate to is, people talking about financial freedom, wanting to be wealthier, wanting more money in the bank, right? But when you have a conversation, well, okay, how much is coming in every day? How much is going out? What are your goals? What are you spending your money on? All these somewhat basic questions, they don't know. It's like, well, you're not giving that the attention. You're not aware. You're not monitoring or studying that. I guarantee you, if you took a spotlight to those things, it would evolve in a way that changes your relationship with money and income in your bank account, right? So, simple example, but you get the idea. Where you focus is where you'll see results. So ask yourself, are you focusing on the right things? How can you be, more methodical about your time? Because again, that is always yours to control. Number 3 is the morning. And the morning is something I always have control over. We all do. And it's one of the most transformative periods of time because it's where you create your momentum, right? It carries into the rest of your day. When you go up and take care of yourself physically, right? For me, hopping in the cold plunge, sauna, coffee, journaling, planning up the rest of the day, it 10x's the momentum and excitement and just the feeling I get as I navigate, the day. And so for me, it's a no-brainer. W. Clement Stone, little hinges swing big doors. That to me is my little hinge. I can control that every single day. So it's something to think about. How are you starting your day? Are you just rolling into the chaos? Or are you being methodical in, there's not a one size fits all, you are your own experiment, but are you playing with that and looking at different ways to launch into a day that is, more productive, healthier, happier? Number 4 is gratitude. Very simple, right? It's one of the most important perspective shifts you can make. Because if you never think about what you have, what's in your life, who's in your life, how far you've come, you fall into this place of lack, right? You only see the gap. And there's more to life than that, right? When you understand how lucky you are and, how beautiful it is to be here and experience this, it makes the bumps and bruises along the way seem way less significant, right? So it's not just like a fluffy, hey, be grateful. There's a very pragmatic reason for it. Perspective. Life is innately hard. Okay, right? It arms you with the ability to handle that adversity because you're grounded and you have an incredible situation and you're in position to tackle whatever comes at you. Number 5 is your willingness to listen. You can always control how much you listen. This one might seem silly at first or not important at first, till you realize very few people are good listeners. And so much growth and understanding comes from listening, observing, right? It seems like we're wired to want to talk and share and, as my grandfather used to say, flap our gums, right? But if you can find the discipline to take life in and learn from it and hear what other people have to say, you're arming yourself with knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't have had. Number 6 is a commitment to education, constantly seeking knowledge in some capacity. Now, it doesn't have to be in the context of a third grader in a classroom, but what areas of your life are growing, right? There's a very simple idea that progress equals happiness. We are more content beings when we feel like we're in pursuit of something meaningful, whatever that is in your life. So don't push that aside and think that you're done learning. You're never done learning. There's always growth. There's always some value you can take in that's bringing you closer to somewhere you want to be, right? Life is a teacher, so don't forget to be a perpetual student. You can always control that. Number 7, I know a lot of you will relate to this, your circle. You are the sum of, what's the terminology, the 5 people you surround yourself with, or the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who make you better, who are positive influences on your life, who push you to do more, who challenge you. Not folks that drain you and are negative and cripple your growth. Right? You can always control who you're around. And that, as it turns out, makes such a tremendous difference on your life outlook, how you look at yourself and how you look at the world. You can control your circle. Next, how you treat others. You can always control that. Are you compassionate? Are you empathetic? Again, do you listen? Do you seek to understand? These things matter. And what goes around comes around. When you treat others well, not only do you feel better and pick up allies along the way, but that comes back to you. So it's something to constantly think about, be cognizant of. How are you treating those around you? And lastly, you have control over the goals that you set. Right? There's an idea that you cannot hit targets that aren't there. Yet so many of us kind of stumble around through life just hoping we'll end up somewhere that we're happy with. Most of the time, that's not how it works out. I heard Jim Rohn say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, and it stuck with me. He's like, there's never been a basketball team or a football team that took the court or the field that didn't have a game plan. And that's for 3 hours? Yet, some people live their entire lives without a plan. When you think about it in that context, it just doesn't make sense. Right? So when you set those goals, when you're aware of the targets you've created, you're much more inclined to make everything in your life fit under that tent, to be more methodical and strategic. and ultimately be where you want to be. That's what it's all about, right? You have that control. You just have to remember. So, what goals are you setting? So there you have it, 9 things you can control that will change your life. I hope it gave you some much needed perspective, and I look forward to seeing you all thrive and flourish in whatever it is you're doing. See you next week.